guilty of the crime of conspiracy to commit murder.
All right, we're going to need to take a break. You're done with that. And if we could have the jury go back and
What you just watched happened on November 13th, 2017, a California courtroom. The jury clerk is reading the verdict: guilty on conspiracy to commit murder, guilty on attempted murder. And Diana Lovejoy leans slowly to the side and drops. The gasps in that room were audible. The judge ordered everyone out. Paramedics rushed in. She was loaded onto a stretcher and wheeled out of the building. The man she had been convicted of trying to kill was sitting right there in that courtroom, watching. Court was recessed for 30 minutes. When it came back, Diana Lovejoy was gone. McDavid's verdict was read to an empty chair where she'd been sitting. Now, here's the question that nobody in that room could stop asking. Was that the reaction of an innocent woman, blindsided by a verdict she never saw coming? Or was it the moment a very calculated person finally ran out of moves? Because to answer that, you need to understand what happened on a dark dirt road in Carlsbad, California, 14 months earlier. Before I get into that night, I want to hear from you right now, because there is one piece of physical evidence in this case that investigators found at the crime scene, something that McDavid left behind, that people genuinely cannot believe is real when they hear it. When we get there, drop it in the comments. You'll know exactly what I mean. In 2005, Greg Mulvihill was a computer programmer living a regular life in Carlsbad, California. He met Diana Lovejoy on a dating website. She was educated, driven, a software technical writer who'd worked for Nokia, spoke 4 languages, competed in triathlons. Friends who knew them both described them as a natural fit. Outdoorsy, grounded, both ready to settle down. They married in 2007, bought a home in Carlsbad. After 8 miscarriages, Diana gave birth to their son in 2012. From the outside, storybook. But by 2014, the story had changed. Greg lost his job. Diana became the sole earner. She started experiencing chronic fatigue, believed she had fibromyalgia. She became convinced their son was seriously ill, pushing unconventional treatments that doctors at Children's Hospital didn't support. Stress stacked. The marriage broke. In 2014, Diana filed for divorce. What followed wasn't just a breakup. It was a war. Diana wanted full custody of their son. To get it, she made serious allegations against Greg, claims of sexual and physical abuse against both her and their child. Greg denied everything. The court took the accusations seriously. For a period, Greg was only permitted supervised visits with his son for a few hours at a time. He paid $100 a month in child support, and then the court investigated. No evidence. None. Custody was reset to 50-50, and the judge ordered Diana to pay Greg $120,000 to resolve the financial imbalance from the proceedings. She signed that agreement in June 2016. That $120,000 was due, weeks after Greg was shot. Just let that sit for a second. June 2016. Diana signs a settlement agreeing to share her son equally and hand her ex-husband 6 figures. September 1st, 2016. Greg Mulvihill is lying on a dirt road with a bullet through his torso. The gap between those 2 events is less than 3 months. And here's something else that happened in that same window. Diana Lovejoy started taking shooting lessons. His name was Weldon McDavid Jr., former U.S. Marine, 12 years of service, School of Infantry instructor, trained sharpshooter. After leaving the military, he worked at a gun range in Oceanside where he taught civilians how to shoot. Diana hired him. She said she wanted to learn self-defense, said Greg frightened her, said she feared for her life. McDavid became more than her instructor. He installed a security system at her home. He supported her through the divorce. He became, according to testimony, her lover. McDavid was married. He later admitted the relationship to Dateline. When anchor Andrea Canning asked whether he regretted pulling the trigger, his answer was strange. He said the one thing he would take back wasn't the shooting, it was sleeping with Diana, because it hurt his wife. But back to the question, how does a trained Marine end up lying in the weeds at night with a rifle, waiting for a man he'd never personally wronged? His defense had an answer. McDavid's attorney told the jury Diana had spent years telling McDavid that Greg was abusive, that he had hurt their son, that the courts had failed her, that someone needed to step in. McDavid, the defense argued, was a misguided man who believed he was protecting a woman and her child. The jury had 30 minutes. They rejected it completely. And here's why this case goes deeper than the headline. Most coverage gives you the verdict and moves on. But the way this was planned, the steps taken weeks before that night, the details investigators pieced together one by one, that's the part that makes this case impossible to forget. Weeks before the shooting, Diana Lovejoy walked into a Best Buy. She bought a prepaid track phone, a burner phone, paid cash. Surveillance cameras at the store captured the entire transaction. On the evening of September 1st, 2016, at approximately 10:45 p.m., McDavid used that phone. He disguised his voice, called Greg Mulvihill, and claimed to be a private investigator. Said he had documents, dirt on Diana, evidence that would help Greg in the custody case. Said the package would be taped to a utility pole along a dirt path off Avenida Soledad near Rancho Santa Fe Road. Greg thought it was unusual enough that he called a non-emergency police line first to ask whether he should go. He was told it was his call, so he called his friend Jason Kovach. Jason grabbed an aluminum baseball bat. They drove out together, parked, and walked toward the pole with a flashlight. That flashlight, prosecutors argued, was exactly what McDavid had been waiting for, because that night had been chosen deliberately. September 1st, 2016 was a new moon night. No moonlight. Total darkness. Diana had searched for the new moon phase on her computer. At sentencing, she claimed her son liked to look at the moon. The judge wasn't buying it. A new moon is no moon, Judge Sim von Kalinowski said directly. If your son likes to look at the moon, why are you looking up no moon? That makes no sense. McDavid was already there, lying flat on his stomach in the weeds, camouflage clothing, AR-15 rifle, waiting in darkness. And Diana? Cell phone tower data placed her near the scene that same night. Prosecutors said she drove him there and was waiting nearby to pick him up after. Jason Kovach spotted movement in the bushes first, then the figure, prone position, rifle pointed toward them. They ran. A single shot rang out. The bullet struck Greg Mulvihill under his left armpit and exited through his back, 2 inches from his heart. Greg made it to the car, told Jason he'd been hit. Jason called 911, and McDavid, in all his planning, all his tactical preparation, all his years of military training, left something behind in those bushes. Police arrived at the scene and found a rifle round jacket and a towel. A towel with an Angry Birds character on it, folded and left on the ground. It was covered in human feces. Here's what had happened. McDavid had been lying in those bushes for an extended period, waiting. He had defecated in the weeds. He used that towel to clean himself. He left it behind. That towel went straight to the lab. The DNA match came back. Weldon McDavid. From there, investigators moved fast. They searched McDavid's property and found the AR-15 used in the shooting. They also recovered multiple other firearms, a silencer, and a blast bag, a bag used to catch shell casings at a scene so you leave no ballistic evidence behind. He had planned to leave nothing. Then came the phone. The number that called Greg traced to a prepaid track phone. Investigators identified the store, a Best Buy. They pulled the surveillance footage. Diana Lovejoy was on camera buying it. When investigators questioned Diana directly, she admitted purchasing the phone. Financial records confirmed a $2,000 payment from Diana to McDavid. Cell tower data confirmed both of them near the crime scene that night. The gun, the DNA, the camera footage, the admission, the money. At some point, this stops being a puzzle. Before the trial, real quick, If someone in your life follows true crime, send them this video right now. Not as a recommendation, as a conversation starter. Because this is the kind of case where every person you tell it to latches onto a different detail. Some people can't get past the towel, some people can't get past the ant, some can't get past the new moon. Share it. Drop them the link. Let them find their moment. Now. The trial. The trial ran 3 weeks. November 2017, Vista Superior Court. Greg Mulvihill took the stand and described the exact moment the shot hit him.
Greg Mulvihill said he didn't realize he had been shot at first, and initially he thought he felt something in his back, even though he could see the sniper directly in front of him.
After the second time of shining the light on it and staring at it for a second, I realized I was looking at a barrel and a scope of a gun.
Mulvihill described a bitter custody battle in which he was accused of everything from drug use to sexual assault and molestation of their young son. He went up a remote trail in Carlsbad the night of September 1st, 2016, out of desperation, fearing his ex might reopen their custody battle. Mulvihill took a friend, a flashlight, and a small aluminum baseball bat, but he thought he was picking up documents from a private investigator. Instead, as he approached the spot off Rancho Santa Fe Road and Avenida Soledad, he shined his flashlight around and spotted someone dressed in camouflage, pointing a long gun right at him. Before he knew what was happening, he was hit once on the side. The bullet came out the back. In court, his ex and the man accused of firing the gun, her weapons instructor, sat quietly, Diana Lovejoy crying at times and shaking her head at others.
I could see Jason, and he was probably 30 or so feet ahead of me, heading back towards the car. And while we were running, I heard about 6 more rapid gunshots.
Jason Kovach confirmed every detail. The flashlight, the figure in the bushes, the sprint back to the car, the 911 call. McDavid took the stand in his own defense. He admitted making the call to Greg that night. He admitted firing the weapon, but he insisted it wasn't murder. He said he was only trying to shoot out the flashlight, to stop the confrontation.
I did not intend to shoot Mr. Mulvihill. I'm sorry that I shot Mr. Mulvihill. It was an aiming error, as I stated previously.
He says he was only trying to shoot a light in Mulvihill's hand and missed.
If I had intended to kill Mr. Mulvihill, he would have been dead. I never intended that.
His attorney argued the same, that a Marine with his training could have killed Greg instantly, and Greg being alive was proof this wasn't a hit. One juror, a 63-year-old man who declined to give his name, told reporters afterward, "We rejected his story pretty much off the bat. He was lying. It was getting absurd at times." Diana Lovejoy did not testify in her own defense, but her aunt did. She took the stand and testified that at a Christmas gathering in December 2015, 9 months before the shooting, Diana had asked her directly, did she know anyone who could scare or kill her husband? 9 months of planning, starting at a Christmas party. Jury forewoman Erin Reed told the San Diego Union Tribune after the verdict, she didn't want to share custody, and she didn't want to give $120,000 to her husband. That's the whole case, reduced to one sentence. Sentencing came January 31st, 2018. Before the judge, both Diana and McDavid were given the opportunity to speak. Diana cried through a 15-minute statement. She told the court she was not capable of what she'd been convicted of. She said she would never take the father of her child away from him. She accused the lead detective of lying, accused a family member who testified against her of being manipulative.
I still care about Greg, and as much as I did love him. I loved him a lot. And I really cared about him, and I still care about Greg.
The judge listened to all of it. Then he responded. When Diana said she had no voice in her trial, Judge Von Kalinowski said simply, "That was completely your choice." He was referring to her decision not to testify. McDavid also spoke. He told the court, "I did not intend to shoot Mr. Mulvihill. It was an aiming error. There was no intent to kill. That's not who I am." He added that if he had truly intended to kill Greg, there is no way I could miss by more than 2 inches.
We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Diana Jean Lovejoy, guilty of the crime of attempted murder of Greg Mulvihill in violation of Penal Code Section 664/187, paren A, paren 1, as charged on count 2. We further find true the allegation that Diana Jean Lovejoy acted willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation within the meaning of Penal Code Section 189. We further find true the allegation that Diana Jean Lovejoy was vicariously armed with a firearm within the meaning of Penal Code Section 12022, paren A, paren 1, dated 11/13/17, signed foreperson. In the Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of San Diego, the people of the State of California, Plaintiff versus Weldon K. McDavid, defendant. Case number SCN 363925, DA number OCD 980. Verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Weldon K. McDavid, guilty of the crime of conspiracy to commit murder.
Hang on. All right, we're gonna need to take a break. You're done. And if we could have, if we could have the jury go back and
The judge sentenced Diana Lovejoy to 26 years to life, Weldon McDavid to 50 years to life. Both were ordered to pay Greg Mulvihill $500,000 in punitive damages. Diana Lovejoy has been at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla since February 2018. She appealed. The conviction was affirmed. In 2024, she filed a resentencing petition under a newer California law, arguing her convictions may have relied on an outdated legal theory. The Court of Appeal denied it. The court concluded the jury had found she personally intended to kill Greg Mulvihill, which made her ineligible for any relief under the new statute. As of 2026, she remains incarcerated. The conviction stands. Every legal avenue she has pursued has closed. Weldon McDavid, serving 50 years to life, had a separate hearing in 2021. A minor restitution fine was adjusted. His sentence remained. Greg Mulvihill survived. He eventually gained full custody of their son and recovered the family home. And here's the thing about this case that I keep coming back to. The plan was genuinely close to working. The new moon, the burner phone, the untraceable shooter lying in the dark, no robbery motive, no witnesses except one friend with a baseball bat who nearly ran. The bullet passed 2 inches from Greg's heart. If that margin had been any smaller, if he'd arrived a few minutes earlier, stood slightly differently, if Jason Kovach hadn't been there to call 911, there might have been no surviving witness. A dead man on a dark road in the middle of the night. No scene, no shooter, no trail leading back. But McDavid left an Angry Birds towel in a bush, and Greg Mulvihill lived. Diana Lovejoy is 53 years old. She is eligible for parole in 2036. She still maintains she is innocent. The courts have now heard that argument multiple times. The answer has been the same every time.